With the world today moving towards the goal of zero emissions, sustainability is one of the most talked about topics. The oil and natural gas industry is known to be one of the main contributors to the environment's pollution through various activities such as oil spills, methane emissions, water pollution, and habitat destruction. The exploration, extraction, transportation, and refining of these fossil fuels also contributes to climate change and air pollution. Dr. Mahesh Ganesapillai is a professor in the School of Chemical Engineering at VIT. His research interests center on the closed-loop fertility cycles for sustainability in sanitation and microwave treatment and implementation of nutrient recovery systems for the anthropogenic solutions.
Good evening, sir. This is Arnav Sharma, the host for today's podcast, and we are very glad to have you today. I'll just start with the fact that did we miss something about you today?
Not seriously. Whatever has to be said is mentioned, I guess.
So, since we just mentioned that your research area or your work area has been centered towards sustainability and closed loop MSW treatment, which is municipal solid waste treatment, how do you look at current stage of the world? How much it has progressed, in your opinion, and where does it stand today?
See, sustainability is something which we're not taught with sustainability. We're born with the term. The term sustainability is not that new for us in terms of Indian context. It might be something new for the entire world, while UN started saying something about the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs, where the entire world talks about. Sustainability is something which we live in. So the way of living that we have follow in India, right, all our customs, practices that we have, completely relies on sustainability. Let it be the food practices that we have, the lifestyle that we follow. All of this talks about sustainability. So basically, it's not new for us to be said. That's one thing. Second is like earlier we weren't much focused on bringing these terminologies. Now bringing certain terms into picture, say something like closed loop or circularity, reduction of waste, then bringing think about energy from waste. All of these terms are one way or other related to sustainability. So I would say like it's a good start for us. I don't want to rate it in terms of percentage where we have reached or something, but we are marching towards a target. So it might take some time for us to go or to attain net zero emissions or something of that sort. But the way we march towards it, it's a good start, I would say.
So, just as you mentioned that we have been living in the sustainable world even before these terms were even introduced to us, say by UN or by global organizations. What example could you give the most that you have experienced the most, say before you were acquainted with this term sustainability? What could you relate from your life before that you would say that I was a part of this sustainable practice, but I am not particular, say I got a name for it later while I was studying or while I was working with this?
Initially, we hesitated to. That's a good question to be said. So initially, while we started to work or while we start some research or something of that sort, we think about materials that pollute the environment or something of that sort. We basically ignore certain materials that has to be brought into limelight. That is how this sanitation came into picture to be said. We talk about cleanliness, we talk about toilets, we talk about human waste management, manual scavenging, all of this. But the task that we have taken for implementation or bringing up of technology or providing a solution for the current issues that we have, that is something which we were way behind the rest of the world, that I should mention that one here. So since I'm working in sanitation and human waste management, I can quote you some examples from my specialization of whatever it is. If you talk about manual scavenging, that is a practice which we had right from age old days, from history. We're following this, and even till date, right, there are very many number of deaths that are happening by manual scavenging because humans are getting into this septic tanks for cleaning of all of this. So that is something that we are trying to address from a long run. Though we have mechanized things, though we have technology that we have reached moon or we are trying to reach the sun, right? But we couldn't go into this these sort of things, and we couldn't bring proper solution for the problem that we have on a day-to-day basis. That is something which we need to address, and it is a very serious concern that has to be localized. Second thing is like while you talk about this sustainability, we have this practice. So the entire world talks about all of these 3 R's or 5 R's, whatever you have, recycle, recover. We have brought a new term into it, that is refuse. The last term in the R is something like refuse. You basically, these 3 R's are going to be like reuse, all of this, right? So what we say is like, than using a material, throwing the material out, and then reuse, finding a solution for reusing it and recovering something from all of this, right? Instead of doing all this, what you can simply do as youngsters or as a human being is like, you can try to refuse that particular material. Say something like, while you are being offered with a plastic pouch or a plastic bag, while you go to supermarket, you can just, while they offer, you can just refuse getting that particular piece of plastic which is going to contaminate our entire thing. So that is something which we as a human being can do. Again, while you talk about this term sustainability, reusing, all of this term reusing may be bit new for the Western world or whatever it is, but we have this practice inculcated in our mind. Just I can give you this simple example, might be so local. Say a sari, right? After mom throws that particular sari, it becomes a curtain in your home for about 1-2 years of time. Then that curtain, if something is being torn or something, then that will become a kitchen cloth. And if that is done, then you use that cloth for about a certain period of time, and then you throw it. So basically, a larger piece of cloth, you cut that into, and you find different applications. But if you talk about the Western world, they use a cloth for about 3 months and they throw it once the season is over. So these are some practices that we have, and that is something which is there inbuilt. So it is, these things are not new for us. That's what I would say. And we are working towards sustainability in terms of, in all aspects, I would say.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that term refuse, that we all should, as our audience as well, should incorporate in our daily lives. Say, we do try to say that, okay, I won't use plastic bags, or there are many times government has also banned, but we end up reiterating the same cycle of using it, because maybe it's given too much to us that we are not able to get out of that. But yes, this is something all of us can, at every instance, try to keep in our minds, that if someone offers us something that is harmful to the environment, we can just simply say, no sir, I would not have that. Too many technical terms for now. I would just try to shift to a very important yet not so spoken topic, toilets, which is again one of your majors. So I'll just ask very simple questions, sir. Can you tell us any book or any movie or anything that you have found very relatable to this topic of toilets or your subject? Say someone can just refer to start from that.
I don't think so. You need a movie to be watched, and then you need to have this practice of going with it. Maybe Toilet Man or Akshay Khan's movie was towards Akshay Kumar's movie was there. It was slightly inclined towards bringing up toilets in villages and in individual residents. That is something which was inclined towards Swachh Bharat mission or Swachh Bharat Abhiyan that RPM has brought it. So that is something which was there recently or whatever it is, right? That is something which we can go with it. And if I can come back up, so what was the question basically?
If something you would refer to our audience to read or to watch regarding this topic.
I don't think so. It should come within, and I don't have any books or something which would prescribe you like, okay, this is the thing that we have. We face all of these on a day-to-day basis. So it's something that we catch up from the environment. If we feel like, okay, this is something which is ignored by others, then you should pick up with that and then you try to find a solution for whatever problems we have or face or whatever it is. I don't think so. Like someone should come from some other planet to insist like, okay, there is a problem, you need to address that. You need to find out that as youngsters.
And just picking up from the statement that you mentioned, that we should try to find out solutions, and we as youngsters should try to pick up something from what we see around. The one basic thing as engineers today is to find a solution. Research is the basic pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Say you've been researching for the last 15 to 17 years, and you've been, say, this doesn't look like that big of a topic, but if you look around in the ways of research, this comes down to be one of the most important or most unexplored zones. So, since we all know that you have been working with mostly undergraduate students for research in the last 12 to 13 years of your work time in VIT as well, so what is something that you would suggest to a student who would start to research as an undergraduate student? Say we have with us a second year student as well, Aditya. So what is something that you would tell, that how should someone start a research, or how should someone get inclined towards that idea of reading so many words without pictures?
Thank you. Again, a good question from your side. Let me give an example from my own experience of whatever I have, how I picked up into these toilet studies and all of this, right? It's something which happened in 2019 while I was doing my bachelor's. Once it was a situation like I couldn't use the washroom one night. So what happened was like I had a plastic pouch and I filled that plastic pouch with urine, and then I just tied it tightly and it was kept in loft that day because I couldn't open my room and I didn't have the access to washroom that night. So I just left it over there in the loft, and it was there stationed for about a week's time or 10 days of time. After 10 days of time, while something happened and one of my roommate, right, he said something like, there is a pouch of liquid put up which had some white crystalline particles settled in the base. Then I got scared, like, okay, I got some other issues, some health issues or something of that sort. Then I started reading, like, I couldn't say this because it was my own waste that was generated from my system, and I had that fear, like, okay, I might have some issues in my body which I couldn't say to others. So I thought, like, I started reading from that particular instant. Then I understood, like, the particle that is settled inside the cover at the base, right, it is 100% urea. And there was the earlier days, in the initial days of manufacturing of urea, they didn't use ammonia or some other processes. Instead, human urine and cattle urine were collected, and then they started this preparation of manufacturing of urea originated from human urine. So that is the understanding, or that is something which I picked up from literature.
Then, sorry to interrupt, sir, but like just to make it more clear, so the first fertilizer urea that was used, it was manufactured from human and cattle and human urine. So we knew this idea of producing urea
from a long
time.
Yeah, more than about some 40-50.
So today we see nitrogenous fertilizers and all.
Now we have commercialized things, and now we have gone behind chemicals. But initial days, those days, we were the entire industry, right? We were using human urine for synthesizing urea or for manufacturing urea. That was something which was developed long back. Later, as time passed by, it is something that is thrown off as a waste material, and whatever material was thrown off from your system, it was seen as waste and not as wealth. So we also had the psychological disturbances, and then we felt like the mindset that we had those days, right? We thought like we can't use this, it might have some pathogens, this, that and all. Then we ignored that material, then we went into chemicals. Now you guys would know what are the drawbacks that we have in soil, whatever it is, while we use these chemical fertilizers. So that is something which we picked up. What I'm trying to say here is like, I didn't have anyone behind me to ignite my passion on this, or I didn't have a field even. All of a sudden it sparked, okay, just to safeguard myself or to bring me to the comfort zone. I thought like, okay, I need to read something. That is something which pulled me into this field of sanitation or whatever it is.
That's some really wonderful story to look for, because we usually do not come across these incidents. So, say, how can someone just, with an instance where you could not get an opportunity to, say, use the toilet, you ended up researching on that entire topic for the rest of your academia. So that is something which we should all try to find out as
So there may be a
youngsters.
different reason for us. I mean, what I'm trying to say is like, I got into it from that particular situation. So you might come across something. So if you feel like you would fit into that, then one another reason is also like I felt in sanitation there are not many researchers. So if you need to top in certain field where you don't have, it's very tough to run while 1,000 people are running towards some particular target. So if you talk about some ignored fields in engineering or in science, whatever it is, right? There are very few people who were working in sanitation by the time I started working in sanitation. We are one of the leading groups in India who are working in sanitation. I mean, our mass transfer group in India, right? That was one of the we pioneered in sanitation and in sanitation studies. Later, if you check with today's situation, there are more than 40-50 groups in India working exclusively in sanitation. By the time we started, there weren't people, and the moment you say toilet, human feces, urine, right, it will be an you can see people's face moving from north to south. It will be that way. But now people have started putting their hands in and then working in it. So it is something like what you develop, what you come up with, and which community you are addressing. So that is something which brings the flair.
But you also work with like real human urine and real human feces. How was that experience?
I should give the credits to my students, I would say. Initially, since all of the experiments, whatever we have done, were with human urine, real-time human urine, and mostly what we do is like we consider men's urine and we don't work with women urine or whatever it is. So, but the group that I had girls in it. Thing that I would appreciate is like my research team, the students of VIT, what they used to do is like they used to have urine camps. They used to stand with trays filled with empty bottles and conical flasks. They will wait in front of men's toilet, girls, I'm talking about girls and guys. They'll wait in front of, not that closer but still right, with a certain distance. They'll wait outside the men's toilet with bottles and things. And with a gentle smile, these people would explain what their research is, and the guy whomsoever is entering the washroom, they'll be offered with a bottle. And if they're okay with it, they can fill the bottle and get it. And while they come out with a filled bottle, they will be awarded with some candies or cookies or whatever it is, right? That is how we started. So that is the idea that these people had, and it is something which they developed on their own, and that is something which has to be. I couldn't forget that. Even till date, though it happens 8 years back, I should say. So those days were gone, but now we have started working in synthetic urine or whatever it is.
So, what exactly sparked your interest in working with undergraduates? Because when we look at research, whenever someone joins science or engineering, they do not say, I particularly did not have an idea that, oh, I would be working with a research or I would be doing research, something by the term of research. This sounds like too advanced of a thing for an undergraduate student who just passed 12, come into engineering or come into BSc or some in any other course. That word sounds to be way too advanced for us. Say just someone who has just passed the school, it would be very new for them to get the word. For them, research is like, okay, some scientists do that, or some PhD people would do that, some doctorate people would do that. But what ignited your spark to work with undergraduate students, or to instill that spark in them that, okay, you're just studying the basics of your sciences, but you still can work with the advanced technologies coming into any field for that matter, be it MSW or just any other domain.
Thank you. Say, my first paper, I published my first paper while I was doing my PhD. In fact, I would say like I started reading papers only by the time I was doing my masters, by the third or fourth semester, third semester to be exact. uh, it was very tough for us to read, understand what people were doing, all of this. It was a tough time for us while I started my research. Then, after doing your PhD, a postdoc, all of this, then you understand how you can break down the term research. You can make it simple so that even a BTech second year student, first year student can get into it. So just break down into, just crack it, break down into smaller things, and then you can feed it so that it can be taken. So the potential that our students in VIT have is something like I would vouch like even a PhD holder, PhD student, right? It will be tough for the PhD student to come closer to the way the interest that's shown by BTech students. So that is something I identify the potentials of students first, and then we have some selection procedures, and we if they fit into it, then obviously we take people and then we go with it. That is something which we did. The best thing is like it worked. It worked. And initially, our School of Chemical Engineering was associated with the School of Mechanical Engineering and Civil Engineering put together, all three schools. By then, while other faculty, we had a total strength of about 170, 180 faculty. By that moment, say for about some 3 to 4 years, there were no single faculty in the entire school which had closer to 2,200, 200 faculty were there, where no single faculty could produce a paper with a bachelor's degree student, bachelor level student. That happened in this lab. That happened. We made the change. Now, if we check with it, VIT has come out with a policy like every single semester we get an email from Pro Vice Chancellor sir mentioning like published papers with BTech students. That is something which we started 12 years back, 13 years back. Now we have moved it. We just started that, and that is ignited by now, and we are moving forward.
So you experimented with working with BTech students and it worked out.
I won't say we experimented. We gave a try, and yeah, it clicked. It was a good move.
See, actually, it's like someone who is interested into going ahead with further studies or studying a particular topic, be it any field of science, for them to just have a gist of what is at the advanced level at this stage would make them would make them more comfortable when they are moving ahead. So we actually are glad to see that for the past 13 years you've eased out paths of so many students.
Very true, but they also had the interest to learn and then go with it. Now, if you check with my students, they are working in designing of toilets. They will be going on with. They are tied up with Blue Cross and other agencies where they design toilets. They incorporate toilets in flooded areas, in earthquake prone zones. All of these things, right? While an earthquake happened in Turkey, while something goes wrong in Africa, people from our extended research team who are in Sweden, they incorporate all of these toilets in Morocco and in other places, in Turkey and all of this, while you have earthquakes. They install about some 300 to 3,000 toilets. They're ready with it. And once the situation comes to normal, then they take back these toilets. So I'm happy to share like, okay, we have spread all our wings, and now our students are, they have put up their footprints everywhere. So that is something which brings you happiness and smile at the end of the day.
What are some basic takeaways that you would want to give to an undergraduate student willing to start research work? What are some very few pointers in, say, broken down lines which any bachelor student should think before they would go ahead with the research part of any topic?
Say, if you have the basic interest to go on with it, don't give a try. Even if you fail, just learn from whatever failures can teach you. Go with it, and then do it for yourself. Please don't do it for anyone else. That is something that will pull you down if at all you do it for others. So do it for yourself. If you have the passion towards research, go with it. Say a simple idea can click. So what happened to me is a very classical example, and I would always say this. I'm happy to say that I'm working and I put my hands in shit. But I should also say, like, I'm very happy to mention here that shit has taken me places. Shit has taken me places. I've traveled from, say, the Finland Toilet Association, let it be the Finland Toilet Association or the Organic Farmers Association in South Korea, in Germany. All of these countries, they identify people, they select people, and then they call you. Once you go there, address the people, see the situation what they are in, and once you are in a position to give solution for them, then that is something which brings you happiness again. So you start with a small flair, and then finally you end up in a place where you haven't been. So it's just a passion that you have. So if you have passion towards research, please go with it. Otherwise, stay off. That's not the right cup of tea for you.
So self-awareness is the key.
Sort of.
Right. So you mentioned that you have traveled a lot of places, and me being particularly close to you has found out that you have been across the world, if to say the least. Say, be it because of toilets or be it your travel interest. But what are some technologies that you have found across the world that you would want to try or incorporate here in India? Something that we usually try to say that, okay, people should learn from the East. What is one thing you've learned from the West?
You have the concept of waterless toilets, and that is very much picked up in Europe and Europe particularly to be said. Though they have plenty of water bodies and other stuff. If you talk about Finland, the number of water bodies that they have in Finland is way much bigger than the population that they have in Finland. So if you check with the ratio of population with the water bodies that they have, every Finnish person would have 2 lakes. Minimum, he would have 2 lakes. So the number of water bodies are more. Though the water bodies are more in Scandinavian countries or in Europe or whatever it is, right? They have brought up this concept of waterless toilets, and they are working and they are surviving with that. That is something which we can think about. And again, speaking about waterless toilets from ancient period, our history even says like we have used waterless toilets from ancient period. But the thing is, like, we have come out of it, but they are still working on that. So if we try to bring those concepts here, the mindset of people that we have here, maybe because of the population growth or maybe because of the literacy rate or whatever it is, if I can bring that into picture. So that is something which we had thrown certain things off. We have discarded from our mind. We have given a place for these things. We need to bring it to the center. If you talk about the toilets during ancient periods or some 30-40 years back, when they construct the house, there won't be any attached toilets. The toilets will be put up at the backyard, and you need to walk for about some 10, 20, 15 meters to reach the washroom and then finish off your purpose, and then you need to come back. But if you check with it, we have attached bathrooms. The toilets have got into your bathroom, but our mindsets are still there. So we need to grow, and as we have brought up these toilets, we also should have open mind to bring technologies and to minimize water consumption in toilets. New designs can be brought up. All of this we need to learn from the West. If we talk about East, they have a different superb technology. They have it in Japan. You have what's it, automatic toilets, where you can just go sit back, relax, sit over a hot seat, and
music
then
and all is also there.
Yeah, all of these things you could find it in Japan. So they have the best technologies and go with it. And they also have ultra design toilets where each closet would consume about some 3 liters of water per single fish, whereas the toilets that we have here in Indian system is about 13 liters of water, 12 liters of water. So 1/4 of the water is being used in Eastern countries. So that's something which we can think about in modernizing our toilets and rethinking our toilet systems.
I just looked around for the time. It's 11:28 at night, and this is just to tell our audience, this is the everyday time where Sir is the most active. So again, why so late at night, Sir? Why do you work after 9 p.m.? Why do you work by till 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., sir?
I prefer working by night because I like silence and I wanted to be in a place where I don't get disturbed. Doesn't mean like I get disturbances by day. I get some guests by day and then I sit and chat with them. So while I focus on my research, I wanted to be free and I wanted my space. So if people have a
space is so
similar
beautiful.
mindset or whatever it is, then they get into it, put their hands into the shit and then they go with it. So that is something which happens inside this lab.
That's really wonderful, sir. Few rapid questions, sir. One country
I
that
can
you
try.
would, sir, one country that you would want to go back again for a toilet.
Japan.
Okay. One country which is your favorite in general.
I would say Greece.
Greece. Right. Something special about Greek toilets.
Greek toilets, they are the ancient toilets. I don't find any differences between the system that we have here. Say I speak Tamil, so there are very many relations that exist between, interlinkings between this Greek culture and Tamil culture. Let it be the words that we use or let it be the customs that we follow on this. So I like Greek in particular to be said.
Anything that you have your plans that you would want to tell our audience or any youngster that, okay, this is one new hot topic about toilets that you would want to work on, or something that has intrigued you very recently?
I would say like there are very few. I have some 2-3 things in mind. So I would say like there are very few. I have some 2-3 things in mind. So one would be like design of toilets, right? If we could find the apt design which can consume very less volume of liquid, and if it can flush the entire solid stuff that is being thrown off into a closet, if you can minimize water usage in toilets, then that would be one solution that you can provide for the problems that we have faced in India in the current situation to be said. That's one thing. Second thing is like we need to educate people in terms of what issues are catching up. It's known, but still we need to make them understand clearly time to time. We need to repeat it and then make understand people like, okay, so that the mindset can change. So if we could do a study on how the mindsets are, what people basically expect, so that we can avoid open defecation. Though open defecation is completely eradicated, but still there are some certain pockets where we don't have toilets at home or we still follow this open defecation. So if we could change that particular thing, then we can think about a societal development and go with it. That is something which we can focus on and work.
That's wonderful, sir. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I would have questions. No.
Then I think that's it for today, and I think we have gathered quite a lot of information about toilets, sustainability, or all those modern terms we come across by the UN or into saving our own environment. So, and of course, how any student should go on the path of doing something for the world and involving them in the research work. And I think these takeaways will be quite a platform for them. So, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Aditya.
Good night, sir. I think that's enough of a disturbance for today.
Thank you.